Hello, Andrea. How are you?
Hello, fine, thank you.
Thank
And
you.
you?
Thank you for accepting the invitation for the podcast. I've always been curious to talk to somebody from your office because I've been following your work for now, I don't know, 5, 6 years. I accidentally found out about your office, and it's an awesome work what you do, and you can tell the people that are listening yourself who are you and what you and your company do.
Thank you very much for having me here. It's a great pleasure to be among all these big names of architecture and uh, architectural visualization and other creatives all around the world. It's really like a big thing for me. And yeah, my name is Andrea Baresi. I'm the founder of Aesthetica Studio, that is an architectural visualization company. We are based in Barcelona, and it's founded in 2017. So we're pretty young, not so young, but not so old. And we mainly work with architectural firms doing the rendering for their competition or commissioned projects all over Europe. We are based in Barcelona, but we are like our pool of clients is like worldwide, as many other architectural rendering company. So we started working within the Scandinavian market because of my previous experience living in these cold countries in the up north, and then things got better and better, and so we spread our network in all Europe and also the United States. So yes, it's a pretty small company. We are 7 with me, so we are also we're a team of 7, and yes, we are always, of course, trying to find great people to join our team. So this is something maybe we can talk about later if there is somebody listening. And but yes.
Yeah, and for your industry, 7 people, it's not so small from my experience that I know, because yeah, there are some like a little bit bigger offices, and I think maybe in countries like China there are some offices that are trying to lower down the price, and maybe they have more like this big setup, but I think 7 people, it's already a mid-sized company for the industry. But it's always like it's always curious for me to start from the beginning of the history of each guest, and to understand where you started and how your path toward creativity brought you to where you're now. So I'm curious, for example, to start from the beginning, real beginning, and ask you, when in your life, or what is the reason for which you thought you wanted to be an architect, a designer, a creative professional? Was your personal inspiration, or maybe you have a family member that was already in the industry? How did
Exactly.
it happen?
No, yeah. Well, my father is an architect, so I grew up with this thing in my mind. Of course, he has his own architecture firm in Italy, in Brescia. I come from Brescia, in the north of Italy. So I grew up with the father architect and going to the office, cutting the boards for competitions. So it was a big stress from when I was a child, basically. No. So yes, I started architecture a bit unconscious, a bit unconscious of what was going to happen. It was easy because I always knew there was going to be my father there with his own office. So it's much easier to start a career in architecture when there is something like that, I think. But so that's the way it started. Then, well, as everybody in the archviz industry, like the 99% of the people comes from the architecture, so from the architecture education. So no, there's no news on that. And I studied in Milan at Politecnico, and well, it was really a great choice because I am a bit kind of this creative person, not very precise or with a structure in mind quite clear. So it was definitely a good choice. But I realized quite soon that I was not as precise and as structured to be a real architect and to really think about a project in all its aspects whenever it comes to calculation, administration, things like I was not a full architect. So I really hated AutoCAD. Like I never, like my goal when I was at the university was I will never use AutoCAD in my life. I don't want to do it. So I started to test and other softwares that had some kind of 3D oriented, that were more 3D oriented. At that time, there was like the first versions of Archicad that were starting to get to spread among students. So there you could do like, yes, the plans, but also the 3D, and it was more pleasing to see a 3D of your building instead of a 2D. So my first goal was to never use AutoCAD because I found the 2D drawing boring. I was not very precise. Also in high school, the drawing classes were super boring. So I needed really something visual. And then then of course 3D Max came in and other 3D softwares. I found the right people on the path that showed me like or the 3D software, the Photoshop or the post-production world. I think it's super important that you find the people who inspires you along your way, and that's how it basically started. I had to continue my career as architect, of course, after university, but yeah. Coming from Italy, it's quite difficult to find like a super nice job right after university. So this 3D things was kind of the door, it's half open to an architecture office because there was not so many people that were good in 3D and Photoshop and rendering because there was not the culture at the time, I think.
But what years are we talking about? When did you start at the Politecnico?
2006. I started and then finished in 2012. So yeah, 6 years.
Oh, I didn't know that Archicad it's that new or new in.
I think it was not the first version. It was among, yeah, I think it was Archicad 10, I remember, or 9. Now I think it's 23 or 24. I don't know.
20 something. I use it at work actually.
Yes, I think I started with Archicad 9. Archicad 9. That was the first 3D contact with the 3D.
And so you started experimenting with these 3D softwares and Photoshop and everything. And I'm curious, how was the response of this passion of yours among your teachers, among your classmates at the university, also maybe in your family, as your father was also an architect?
And my father was using Archicad 9, so he was a bit like he still uses Archicad. So that it comes from there. Many things come from there, of course. So that's why I've been very lucky on that.
No, but the question was like if you started using the software as really potentially already thinking that you're gonna be doing archviz, and my idea is like the professors, were they rather conservative or where they're like telling you, oh, this is a cool thing that you do these 3D renderings, or because currently, for example, I graduated a little less than 2 years ago. No, actually 2 years ago exactly, and I had a lot of critiques from my teachers because they said, I don't know, they're not so for these renderings that are realistic and so on. And I was curious, how was your passion for these representations when you started in Italy? How was criticized or how was accepted by your teachers?
it's kind of an interesting question, because this is, I think, is quite a actual topic of this use of renderings in architecture. And but back in university, I think and I think, well, I think it's still the same, because there is this mix of like mixed feelings, love and hate. Many people criticize because they just sell dreams. They are not really architecture, and but in the end they are there. Everybody, the technology changes, it moves forward, but they're still there. People needs to visualize the project somehow, and that's the easiest and most direct way to do it. So back to your question, there were some professors that hated it because it was technology, something unreachable, and that's something that they could not control. Some others that were the geek, but very few. And but in the end, when you have a big board and a big image, all the professors were like this to look at the image. So it was, in the end, there was this kind of denying the importance, but in the end you were attracted to it. So it was something for sure. So it was definitely worth exploring. But at that time, when I was studying, I didn't know exactly that it was going to be my job, because there were no schools. Like now there are many, like especially in Italy, there are many interesting, important archviz school. There is a master in Venice from connected to architecture, the MADI from Lisa, and so it is something super important that is taking shape, and there are many professionals, like students that come out like they are kind of professional, ready to work, and with super high level. So it is definitely something worth considering when it comes to architecture. It is a part of architecture.
Yeah, and there are a lot of Italians in this industry, because like for the audience who maybe have been listening for a longer time, might think that I invite people that are from Italy on purpose because of my background, but the reality is that I just invite people that I found by accident, and that happened that they're Italians. And I've been talking to so many Italians scattered around the world. So I was, and as in my school, I didn't know any of my colleagues at school, that at the university, that were so good in archviz. I was so surprised that there were so many good Italians in the business.
I think so, yeah. I think so, that's. I think there is a many reasons for it. Probably the first one is that the architecture world, like the world, how to say that, like the world of architecture, when it comes to finding a job, didn't offer a proper answer to the students that were looking for a job. So people had to find something else. They couldn't settle and accept the bad condition that the architecture firms were offering. So they started to invent yourself and to think about something else. And many people started to learn, included like alone, watching tutorials, or like self-taught professionals, and then this has led to like many people being in the same situation, that they don't find a significant job offer. Then you have to find something else. And then after that, it came that in Italy there was like an important, like it was for schools. So there are two main schools, like now in Italy. There are these, actually more than two, but like the one in the MADI and
Yeah,
the
there are
State of Art
some.
Academy.
Yeah, there are some private schools. I have discovered about these private schools through my guests from the archviz world, that there are actually now more than few in Italy, and in
Yeah,
Rome also. When I was studying,
and also,
there was already one. But I really liked archviz when I was a student, because in the beginning I was thinking that it's so cool to be an architect and you'll be doing these images, and then I discovered that these images weren't done by the architectural studios but by these other studios that do the images. And then I found out about the different schools, but as I don't come from a wealthy family, I couldn't afford to ask my family to
they are
pay,
quite expensive.
yeah,
They're
thousand
quite
of
expensive.
euros to go to the school. And um and uh, and as you said, in Italy, the job market for architecture is really bad, and this is why I ended up in Germany. Before even completing during my studies already, I came to Germany. and
I
um
also follow the same path.
and that was I wanted to ask you, because in Italy particularly, but I'm sure in many countries, it's very crucial, this transition in life from architectural academical world to the professional world. Maybe in your case would have been easier because your father is already in the industry. But how did you do this transition from university to being a professional? What were your first jobs?
Well, well, I started to work in Milan in a small architecture firm, and then yet like I I was still working as architect, even though the 3D and I was the 3D guy of the office. So it is something that it was always there. It has been always there. And then after in Italy, I found like another job in Barcelona back in 2014. It was not a job; it was a it was an internship after university. Okay, in a very famous international office, unpaid, so I cannot name it. And after that, so it was like this struggle to find a job as architect. Then after I moved to Vienna to another architecture firm, and after that to Copenhagen to Trixen. But there it was actually I applied as a job as a 3D artist. So it was this kind of half door open to enter like a big firm. I was like, yeah, I can do 3D. Then the plan was to switch and then be an architect there. But the good thing about this Scandinavian firm, this Danish firm, was like that every year they do this meeting with every employee to see, to evaluate the year, to understand their goals, their career path. So I was like, okay, after the first year, I'm going to tell everybody that I'm an architect, because I was doing 3D rendering, like in-house render for 1 year there. And then, so I was super decided to switch and to tell everybody, to like coming out and say, hey, okay, I'm an architect. But then at that time, at the moment of having this meeting with the partners, I was like, do I really want to be an architect? Am I not enjoying what I'm doing? So there was a switch in my mind at that time. So I decided that maybe I was not going to be an architect, and maybe this was the way to continue. And my father accepted this last year after many years of trying to make me change my mind. So,
At which company were you when you did this first gig where you were in-house renderer in 3XN or another?
yes.
Oh, okay. 3XN. And what year did you move to Denmark? Around
2014, 13.
Okay. So not so crazy time ago. I mean, like it's almost 10 years though. But I mean, you have to have been a great like they took you with a portfolio that was just image based, because I suppose that, I mean, beside
Yeah,
images, you were really good at designing the buildings in your projects at the university and so on. Because I don't know, I don't think they will take you, or did or you were really more focused on really building these imagery skills?
it was just the images. The position was a 3D artist, and so I just did another portfolio, removing all the plans section because they were not useful for this application. And it is true that when you don't send an architecture portfolio if you want to work in doing renderings, super annoying.
I see already. I see already implications for the people that maybe we will talk about that want to join your office. Don't send.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't send architectural portfolios because they don't do.
No, there are not many coming. Like I think the architectural portfolio that we receive, they are just like this application that people send random without thinking about what they are sending actually. So it's like but it's not many this type of application we receive. So yes, no, I sent this a portfolio just with images that were a lot of Photoshop, of course, because when you are with a laptop and with no experience, you don't know how to do things. But I think there was something, if I still look at it, maybe there was something nice. At that time, there was just one guy that was doing the in-house render for all the company. Sang, a Korean guy. Also, he was also Korean, but he lived in Milan for many years. So we were talking Italian. So it was one Italian, one Korean in Denmark speaking Italian. And he was my mentor, my main mentor. I will always thank him forever that he taught me everything. And yeah, together we worked for 4 years there, and then little by little started hiring other 3D artists to build this in-house department, because this was the trend when I was there, that all these Danish offices have their own, all these big Danish I mean, 100 people, so yeah, quite big. The trend was to build their own in-house rendering department. Then these things changed, and it was maybe too expensive to attract good, talented people, and then in the end, also the conditions are quite tough if you work as an in-house render professional. You say render guy because it looks like a pizza guy, but the render if you work as in-house render artist, it's really tough because yeah, I mean, you have the architects here all the time, which is great because it's really like it has been a fantastic period, because you're in close contact with super architects, and it is true that you receive many feedback at any time, but like there is no limit. But at the same time, you learn a lot from these architects, from these people that are super experienced and they've seen many projects. They design those buildings, they build those buildings. So for sure, they have something to say to you that you are 24, 25 years old guys. So it was really a great experience. And yeah, after that, I decided to take a different step in my career and move and escape from the north.
Yeah, no, I can understand completely what you're saying, but I mean, from a standard point of view of somebody that works in an architectural company, for me, when I came in Germany, also was quite surprising and almost shocking, because I was coming from Rome, which is probably even worse compared to Milan work-wise, and I started working for an office that's 60 architects, maybe 50 architects, so middle size, and the organization was incredible, and the teamwork and the projects and everything. So I had to learn so much, and I had to learn so much also about I got the chance to learn so much about the process of architecture, the business, the organization, the communication with the client, and how much different it is compared to university, where you always ask to do your best, and when you start working they ask you to do what you are paid for. So they're like, no, don't do too much because the client is not paying for this. And I guess that the reason why maybe it's not worth it anymore to have an in-house rendering team is because not every client's gonna pay so much for their project, and you actually don't need to deliver the visualizations that your office do, because maybe those are visualizations for a certain competition or for a certain special client that really wants to have the nice building images, or maybe they're directly for the clients because the clients want to use these images to sell these dreams to the future clients and users of the building. So I understand the business standpoint of view from this 3XN office that didn't although maybe the advantage for such an office, and for example for big Archi star offices like Zaha Hadid or Björk Ingels Group or Norman Foster, it would be an advantage to have some visualizers to keep this brand. So you have always the same visualizations, but I guess nowadays there are so many offices that can do similar style of visualizations that also it's not such a big problem. But how was living in Denmark for you for 4 years? Like somebody that comes from Italy. I mean, besides working, like how was work? Was it a lot of extra hours, a lot of crazy hours? And how was life in general? Like in your private sphere, were there some cultural shock coming from the south of Europe and going to Scandinavia?
Now you will only hear positive things from me in for talking about Denmark, because it was of course it's difficult because the weather conditions are not the best. Nobody goes on holiday in Denmark. Very few brave people, but in general it's not like the main point of this country.
Here in Germany, there are a lot of people actually that go in summer to Denmark because they rent house and they enjoy that.
I would go to Greece, but
but by cultural shock, I
don't.
Yeah, by cultural shock, I don't mean something negative. Can be also just something that was way different from Italy. Or, for example, I had to meet some Danish people here when I was an exchange student, and I didn't figure out that they don't kiss each other when they say hi. So I kissed them, and they were like super stressed out. So this was one experience I had with Danish people.
Yeah. It's that was a big cultural shock. The planning on the calendar, like for a beer, we had to plan the calendar 2 weeks in advance. But probably this is not only Denmark. But
here is the same.
Yeah, I can imagine. But it's great. These people are great. I really owe them everything, because they taught me so many super positive things. As you said before, when you move to Germany to work, the value of time. That's the time has value, and it costs money. And your time has value. This is the most important learning that I got from the Nordic, which is and it was like a huge, the first big shock, like that, like second day of work or third day of work, or maybe the first week. Apart from the working hours were like a dream, because it was like from 9 to 5 for architects coming from south of Europe. It was really 9 to 5, then Thursday 9 to 4, and Friday 9 to 3 p.m. not a.m. so it was really great. And on Friday, I still remember Fred, this partner, now he's a partner of 3XN, a very good friend. and he needed an update on an image, and it was 3:15, and he requested some. He asked me to do some changes that would have taken 1 hour or 1 hour and a half, so until 5. And he was really sorry about asking to stay until 5. What are we talking about? So I don't understand. So yes, this is the value of time was really like a great learning from the Danish working culture, and also in general the work-life balance of Danish people is really a fantastic inspiration. And I also try to, when I started this project of Aesthetica, it was one of the main pillars was to bring this concept of value of work and time and a great working condition here to Spain, where it is more difficult to find.
Yeah, I can understand that, and I've heard that from other people that work in Denmark or have worked in Denmark for other offices, that it's really good on this point of view. And I'm curious, how did you manage, like in general, the office? How did manage to keep this very, very very balanced working times? Do everybody work very efficiently in this I don't know, 8 hours, 9 to 5? Everybody is very like
no, it's not 9 to 5.
Oh no, and you said well, like you said in the work week was 8 hours.
In Denmark, yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
No, I'm asking about Denmark. How do they keep? Because I work in Germany, where it's still good. It's not like crazy hours as maybe in Italy or Southern Europe or other parts of the world. But it's still like, I don't know, there are days where you have to stay more than 9 hours at work because you have a deadline, because you have.
But that's also in Denmark. It happened that sometimes I had to stay until midnight. There were competitions, so you stay, but you are you know that your time has value, and when you have to do it, and you do it, and it's no problem. Also because you count the extra hours, so it's like I'm not staying for nothing. Some people is giving value to this time at some point. So then if you have to stay until midnight, it's okay once, twice, but it's an exception. It's not the rule. It's the taking for granted. This thing is really the worst mistake you could do, I think.
And how was it to move to Denmark from a standpoint of like personal, also I don't know, finances? Because Italy, it's way cheaper than Denmark. So how was like did you need some, I guess in the beginning you need some help from your parents to set on Denmark to find the apartment and everything? And how was the payment throughout your career there? Because I guess as a completely new guy from abroad, I don't know, how was your salary? What kind of lifestyle could you afford as a very young new architect in Denmark, working as an archviz artist?
Well, it was quite, the conditions were quite they're quite good. I mean, I lost your video.
You lost my video?
Okay. Yes. No. Yeah. Now it works. And the conditions were quite good. Like the salary.
I think your internet connection is a little bit. I think your internet connection. I think your internet connection is quite low because you're very robotic. Now it's better. It turned yellow, but you were red for some time. Now it's okay.
Okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So yes, the salary was really good. So like in Denmark, there is not big difference of salaries. So there is a range which it's quite flat. It's not that you get like there is a high entry level, and then in order to get to the top, it's really like the top is really not too far from when you start. So there is not big difference between salaries, which is probably the basic of Danish society. Like there is not somebody completely out of reach. Yeah, there are some, but in general, the rule is that you stay in between this buffer that allows you for a great life with no luxury, of course, but I could afford like a nice flat with in a city center, and yeah, I mean, like now I don't remember, it was in
But a comfortable life where you could like have a nice
yeah,
flat, save some money, do some holidays.
Exactly, you have some 1/3 for the flat, 1/3 for the
for living,
expenses, and 1/3 or maybe a bit less for savings. So it was fine. I think it was around 2,000, no, 2,000 or something euro. So now I don't know because it was Danish crowns, but so it was definitely a salary I would never get anywhere else, of course. But that was the rule. It was not because of me. So it was like entry level, regular, and that's it. So it was quite easy. The life easy in Copenhagen. So it's nice.
And probably the most valuable from that experience was the professional skills that you could learn and could develop
exactly.
for the 4 years, and finding your first mentors into archviz. What were those game changer skills that you got to learn from the professional world? Because for instance, like I had the experience with seeing how you generally draw your projects at the university and how you draw architectural projects in an office, and the level is completely different, and you learn so much. So I can imagine that for somebody that has been a self-taught archviz artist, so to say, there were some other specifics that when you came to the professional world were real, like game changer, where you get to learn some things that otherwise are difficult to figure out on your own. So what were the different skill sets that you developed through this experience?
That's a difficult question. The most important skill that I learned when I was there is to find a solution to find solution in tight time frames and with very little help. So things that needs to be done and needs to be done now. So somehow you have to find a solution for it. So it's a soft skill. It's not a hard skill. It's not a technical skill, but when there is a deadline, and it's a deadline, it's no university, it's a real deadline, then there are problems. The image is not nice, so you have to find a quick solution to make it look nice. So tricks in Photoshop or whatever that makes the image pleasing. Or I think that what I learned the most is Photoshop. Also because the first 2 years in 3XN I used Rhino, not 3D Max. So Rhino and Désirée. So it means that no 3D nice geometries, no forest pack, no vegetation. It was all Photoshop. So this was a nice gym to train the Photoshop skills.
And then you switched to 3ds Max?
Now we have when I still were the second half of my experience there, I started to learn a bit 3D Max, and that's what I'm using now. But like fantastic 3D models. Everything is perfect. You just have to put it there, and it's completely different. But I had this strong Photoshop background that helped me to bring it a bit further, let's say.
That sounds interesting.
So yes, this is the main thing, to have these architects always here waiting for the image to come out. You have to hurry up to make it look nice on time. So yes, this person, this man Sang, helped me a lot with that, teaching a structure to follow whenever you are in doubt or you are struggling. If you have a little bit of structure of what to do, even if it's a bit mechanic, then you can change it, but at least it's kind of a comfort zone. Like to build all this mental thing was super important. So yes, that's it. And then also I learned how it works, how a server, a library should work in a big structured company. So this is something I brought to here when I started my own. So I already knew how the folders are divided, where you should put the files, and how to organize it, libraries and everything. So many interesting and important inputs from that point of view.
And so you survived these 4 years in Denmark at 3XN. You gathered your professional background, your experience, got connections in the world of architecture there. And what was
exactly
the next step for you? Was then when you moved to Spain? What was the motivation for that? How from there you moved on in your life?
After that I moved to Barcelona to start my own company, and the main reason was my girlfriend. So she was here studying, and I had to go somewhere close to her to work. We lived together in Copenhagen for many years.
We lost a little bit.
She couldn't. Oh, no.
Just a second, we lost a little bit of connection. We have to repeat the last question. I don't know if it's my internet or it's your internet.
I don't know.
My internet, it says it's connected top, like.
Me too, mine as well. So I don't know. Let's give it a try.
Well, then let's just repeat just the last part. So you finished the 4 years in Denmark at 3XN, and then the next step was Spain. So what was the reason for this move for Spain?
The reason was my girlfriend. She was living in Spain, so I had to find a solution to stay together. So this was the big point where I said, okay, that's it. Now is the time to do it. So the idea was to come here to Barcelona, be a freelancer, and working on in architectural visualization on renderings of some friends in Copenhagen. But then after 2-3 months, things started to change quite fast, and that's how it ended up.
But you went there to work as a freelance because of your girlfriend also an architect, or what?
No. Business career.
So she's having a nice job and earning good money. No,
exactly.
Not like architecture. And so you moved there, and so in the end, it ended up that you had way more work than you expected.
Yes.
If I'm not. And what was your initial setup? You moved there and you bought yourself a workstation, or
I
How did you
started
start?
first project for the first project with a laptop, and then after a couple of months, I could buy a workstation, and then moved to a co-working with my desk to work, and then suddenly, working for years in Denmark in a big office gave me like a lot of contacts, and these people keep changing and can change the job. So we work from another company, then they move to the other company. So it was quite natural to build this network. So yeah, things escalated very quickly, and so after 3, 4, 5 months, there were already many big names coming and asking for images because I was cheap. I was quite good and cheap. So because this was the beginning. So that helped me a lot. Then the difficult part was actually to raise the fees, because then I was hiring people. I was paying all the licenses, because maybe in the beginning you don't pay all the licenses. So, but I really wanted to make things super clean, and from the very beginning, because of this Danish background, and so I didn't steal too much.
No, but I think this is something that happens to everyone who comes from Italy and goes to somewhere in Northern Europe, and you're like,
and then you don't want to steal anymore.
No,
What do you want to steal?
no. And you get super pissed off when somebody else does something.
Yeah, exactly.
Shady. Yeah, this is very good from the Northern culture. They should do like Erasmus, for like Italians can go only to Denmark, and Denmark can go only to Danish can go only to Italy. So the Danish people learn that you can have a beer without having it in the calendar, and
Exactly.
we can learn that you have to pay for your shit.
Exactly. I remember in the Ericsson there was this room which was full of pencils and like stuff for the office, like post-it, pencils, papers, what is it, rubber, and all these different pens of different colors, super nice for architects. And I was like, wow, this is for free and I can take them all, fantastic. And I never took one because I was like, oh, it's not possible. So yeah, perks.
I remember that I received a letter here in Germany that I have to pay TV, because in Germany you have to pay the public television. Like you receive this letter and you have to give them your bank account, and they take the money every 2 months or 3 months. It's some 50 euro every 3 months. And I remember that in Italy, a lot of people didn't pay this fee, so they needed to put in the electrical bill the fees. And I remember I started discussing I had a colleague at work, and I was talking to him. I was like, but in which case you don't pay? And then he would explain me, and then I'll be like, okay, but if you do this, no, you still pay. And then I was doing all the cases in which you could avoid to pay the things. And in the end, I told him, like, so if you say to the authorities that you live at your parents' place, but you don't live at your parents' place, you cannot, you won't be paying TV, but and you'll be free. And he was like, yes. And then I was like, why don't you do it? He was like, because we don't do that. So he was like super surprised by my thinking about how not to pay something. And then I realized, yeah, okay, in Germany you pay because it's okay. It's like everybody pays, and everything is organized, everything is clean, and so I also my Italian mentality was broken down by the north of Europe.
No, but that's how it should be. Yeah, and then business-wise, if something works, it has to work. Like my point was, okay, I want to play like in this league, so there are some rules that you have to respect.
Yeah,
so
and
you cannot play dirty.
How was like, it's very interesting, your story, because you went to work as a freelance in Spain. which is not your home country, and you were coming from Denmark, brand new. How was bureaucratically speaking? Because you had to, maybe, I don't know how it worked. You had at some point for sure to set a company or something. You needed probably some help to set up your company with the authorities. Yeah. How was that process? Because it must have been quite complicated, probably.
No. It was not. It was quite simple. I started to work in a co-working, so there were many people in the same situation as I was. So if you start to, I started to ask around, and I needed like for contacts or how to do it, how to do this, how to do that, and what is called accountant? No.
Yeah, accountant.
No, the commercialista.
It's the accountant. It's the
accountant. Okay.
Yes.
And so I find the right person and the right time. Then that helped me through to set up everything. So it was quite straightforward. The first year was as freelancer. I was alone, and then one person came, then the second, then two together, and then another two together, and the last member that joined the team is actually an Egyptian guy. So I also did this extra European hire, which was something impossible apparently, but it's not. If you want to do things, you just do it. So we are super international now, which is not true because we are 6 Italian and 1 Egyptian. But, the goal is.
Sounds like a joke. 6 Italians and an Egyptian in Barcelona.
Yeah, poor guy. He will. It's true, as you said before. There are many skilled Italians in this very specific time. So that was not the goal in the beginning, but
and how? At what point you notice that this has to be turned from a freelancer job to a real company? And how did you grow with the first person that joined your team? Did you already found the office now, because in 2 people, or you still stayed in the co-working space? How was the process of growing? Because it's something that nobody teaches you at school or even at work.
No, exactly.
Business,
do many mistakes.
Business-wise, maybe in your case, technically wise was easier because you had to buy some computers, so maybe you had some understanding of that. But how was the process from freelance to company? What were the steps?
Well, it was quite natural in the beginning. It was just like a legal, not legal, but a tax issue. So the accountant said, okay, from now on, even if you are alone, you need to have a company, because otherwise you're going to pay a lot of taxes as a freelancer. So I stepped up in the company, and I was alone, the only member of the company. And then I lost your video. So no.
Do you see me now?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. And then I was like, there were many projects coming in, and I was alone, and the projects were tough because it was a big project, big competition, tight deadlines, and when we start to work is when architects finish the work. So it's super stressed, super tired. So it was very difficult to handle this pressure alone. So I needed other people to get the project. I was rejecting too many projects. So there was this first first brave person, Adriano, that came from Netherlands, Italian working in the Netherlands, and that believed in the project, and he saw like an opportunity to build something from scratch, and he's still here. And after 2-3 years, three maybe, and yeah, as I told you before, I really wanted to give like all the best working conditions. So like undefined term contracts, like normal working hours, extra time count, all this Danish heritage. So this is what I'm still promoting for every new hire. And yeah, that's we moved to our own office. It was a shared office with another company, but then we moved back to a co-working because like now we are in a co-working actually, because it's super it's much more interesting, much more inspiring, and for everybody, the guys of the team can meet new people every day, so it's not every day the same people, since we are not like a big team. So yes, the co-working is still like a good choice for us.
How do you work in a co-working? Do you have like your own room, which is then connected to the shared spaces?
It's an open space. It's an open space, and we are in some kind of a corner of a building that is we have our area, let's say.
Yeah, but can you lock it in evening so that everything stays like safe, like the computers and everything?
The building is all like a co-working, so they close in the entrance, and there is like a security guy.
Okay, so it's some setup, but is it like a famous company for co-working where you're working at, or is it just a single building?
No, it's a famous company in Barcelona. They are local guys called Attico. And,
okay.
They have like 5 or 6 co-working in Barcelona, and yes, it's super nice. It's super flexible. There is a new member of the team new at the table, and in the end, it's not. In the end, it's kind of same price of having your own office. Actually, cheaper. But
yeah, sounds like nice to meet different people every day and have a little bit of change. How did you manage through
we met the guy that designed our website here. So
it's, nice. And how did you manage through the lockdown? Like when we had to work remotely, did you do some?
We didn't work a lot remotely, like just the full lockdown from March to June. And then the co-working was empty, so we just been like super distanced, and so yeah, we just stayed 3-4 months at home, like when it was everything was locked down. Then we just went back to work.
How did you go through that period of time? Were you very worried about the business, or projects were still coming in? How was that period of time for your company?
It was tough the first 3 weeks because projects were cancelled and there was nothing. So I started again, as in the beginning, to go around, set up a strategy together with my girlfriend that she has a business mindset. So she helped me to build up a strategy to find the new leads, new work. And yeah, it lasted maybe 2-3 weeks of earthquake where nothing, but it was for everybody, I think. And then luckily things started to slowly come back to normal. So yeah, it was tough, but it was tough for everybody, I think. We couldn't even connect the microphone well. It was like 30 minutes. I cannot hear you. Yeah, I can hear your double voice. So we were not used to it.
Yeah. I almost never work so much remotely, and I'm not somebody that has kids yet. So for me, it was easy to go to the office because there are other people that had to stay home because of their kids, and that's a very big problem.
Yeah, that was a big. I don't have kids either, so.
But if you have your kid that's I don't know, not at school. That's very difficult. And I'm curious if you can share a little bit about the strategy that your girlfriend had helped you to set up to start finding new clients through this difficult time of the first lockdown. Because I'm always object of marketing attacks from archviz industry. So I'm curious.
What do you mean? What do you mean?
Because I'm
why you say you are object of marketing attacks? In what sense?
because there are some companies that mainly they're Chinese companies, so they contact me a lot on LinkedIn because they see I work in Germany as an architect, and they just go straight up being like, hello, Mr. Lesztarski, we saw you work for this company and here is our portfolio. And I end up not looking at their portfolio because I mean, if you connect like this without out of the blue and just send a portfolio, I don't think it's constructive. So I was curious, what was your strategy to bring new clients?
It was mainly not new clients, but new projects. So basically, what I did after what was it, 2020? So yeah, it was already almost 3 years, 2.5 years of activity. There were many projects, many people that I talked to with all the projects. So the idea was to split all these people in 3 groups. And the first group is that it was like people I know, people I have worked with. And then there was people that I know that I never work with, but I know they work in those offices now. So like following these people on LinkedIn, on social, and contact them because it is important, I think, to have at least one point of contact. You know him, your ex-colleague or a colleague knows this person. So there is always like this human connection is super important. Otherwise, it's like the Chinese company. With all due respect to Chinese companies, but as you mean, the Chinese company that you mentioned is like super straightforward, and you will not even look at it because there is no interest, no connection, no. So, but it is super crucial to have at least one point to anchor and to start the conversation at least.
Yes.
So, and yeah, the other one was so the people you work with, people you haven't worked with, and the other is like people you don't know, but not with like a cold email, but rather trying to connect with them through Instagram or whatever other social. By the way, Instagram is the main for architects and architectural visualization. So, and it worked, but it is of course much slower. But I can say that now, like some architecture firms who I connected with during the COVID period, wrote me now, and like, but this guy is the one that I wrote like 2 years ago. So it takes time because you have to build a relation from scratch. But that's the thing, is to build a relation with these people.
Yeah, that's very important to network. I'm curious, as somebody that needed to start this business from scratch, and as we said, business is nothing that you get taught rather at work or at the university. Nobody teaches you these skills or how to approach certain situations, not only from the bureaucratical standpoint of view, but also from organization, sales. You have to lead other people. You have a team. You're responsible for these people. Did you educate yourself on these different subjects, like, I don't know, sales, marketing, business, leadership? I don't know. By educated yourself, I mean, did you read some books, or did you go to, there are people go to business coaches? I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. I read quite some books because I didn't have any, as architect, I don't have any, as you know, I mean, there is no, and that's something super bad about architecture schools. And yes, I read many books about especially hiring people. That was the most difficult part. Like, how can I convince somebody to come working to my project? because then it's not your project anymore. Now I cannot say it's my project. Like there is people believing in it, giving all their efforts, their time to do like super nice work. So it's not my project anymore now. And how do you convince these people to come to you when you are one? So I read this super book that I can definitely recommend. It's called How to Hire A Players. But now I don't remember the author. But if you type How to Hire A Players, it's the only one. And it basically gives you like this conscience that it's super important that the right people are depending on what is your goal. But if you look for quality and for a nice and working environment and high quality output and not like mainly production, this is super important to have the right people and this A player. Because then when you have one, then another also wants to come. And maybe this one brings you another one, which is the same. So it creates all this this culture of being like a workplace where you are appreciated for what you do. And that's super important. So yes, choosing the right people is the most important thing.
And on the other topics, did you read also other books about leadership, so that once you bring the people on, you know how to communicate with them?
Yeah, that goes together, I think. Then when it's yes, what was the name? Yes, on I don't remember. Don't remember now. I can check.
It's okay. It's not an interrogation. I was just curious, because these are things that through talking to my guests, I have always asked this kind of topic, so that the idea behind the whole conversation is that if somebody wants to start their own company or their own business, or start freelancing as you did, they can anticipate some of the problems that will arise through our conversation, because you're somebody that has gone through this whole process. And back in the days, unfortunately, there was no the Creative Insider podcast that you could have listened to and learn everything this in advance and avoid some mistakes. So this is why for me it's so interesting to ask these questions that are from the kitchen. I always say, like, from what you don't see on the surface of a company. And how did you come up with the office name Aesthetica and the branding and everything? How did this started?
Nobody never asked me that. And it was I wanted like to bring like a Danish letter in the beginning of a word, which was the AE. And I like that because it was half Latin and half Danish, because it's also letter in the Danish keyboard, alphabet, not keyboard. And so yeah, that was the main, the first letter. So yes, it's related to aesthetics. So that's.
It comes from Rome, the city I grew up in. So
exactly. So it's I really needed my two lives. I want to bring it in one name, and then it refers to that moment, this aesthetic moment of this job, which doesn't last long, because it's a job like any other, except for this point when the 3D geometries of a software become something else and become something nice. There is this 2 hours moments of your whole week, which is fantastic.
And the work you're doing currently looks awesome. I was just scrolling through your website, which is Aesthetica Studio, which also the name fits very well for the domain. And what is your what is your current workflow at the office? What do you by workflow? I mean, I mean, we have discussed already that you use 3D Studio for the 3D models. You will use some add-ons. People that have been listening to the podcast for a longer time know now some of the softwares like Forest Pack is for scattering vegetation. You have a rendering engine like Corona or V-Ray. I don't know. These are the main ones. Photoshop for the final touches. But do you have also a workflow with your clients? Like, I don't know, when somebody like you work now with clients for more than once, but I don't know, some offices send you some. I from my personal experience as somebody that works on the other side with offices that do archviz, sometimes they send you some set of rules, so to say. I had this, for example, with I was trying to make my office work with the Beauty and the Bit, and so I was like, okay, let's ask this company to do visualization for us because they do good work. So I contacted them through my work, and then they send back some files that were like some common general rules of working together for maybe new clients or whatever. So I'm curious, what is your general organization a part of the technical workflow?
Yes, there are some behavioral rules, but I think those are like good sense. We don't have strict rules because we kind of try to help. Since I have worked with architects, I know how it is. I work closely with them, and I know how it is. And what I really want to do every time is to be part of the same team for these 2-3 weeks. So create as less problem as possible. So there is always this super important thing when we work together. There is respect when we work also between among us, between the members of the team, but also with our clients. This is the most important thing that has to be always there: the respect for work, the respect for the people, the respect for the different situation. So this is without respect, there is no. It happens sometimes that this thing was missing during a process, and that we just close the process, and that's it. So the same goes for the workflow. Is since given this starting point, we are here to help. So whatever you send, we will try to help you. I mean, you or help the architects to follow like a super smooth process, a super smooth communication, a super smooth workflow for something that is not smooth at all, because it's a deadline. So there are 3,000 problems, 3,000 things missing and not resolved. So we always try to not to set any rule, but just to help the architects in what they need. Of course, if they send, we receive like a messed up 3D model, it's possible that you will not get the best image because it's a matter of balance. We are not magicians, so we work with what you have. So sometimes more, sometimes less. It depends on how you build this relationship. So once we receive this material, we just work. Just give it like a big push and struggling. This is another keyword of the workflow: the struggle to find like the best image, the best camera angle, the best light, the best idea, and without like feeling satisfied after a few rounds. So we're very critical with our work, with ourselves, and this is super important. This is one thing. If for somebody starting, being super critic with with yourself. So, and if the team is bigger, it's easier because you have other people that's critic at your work. So the filter is narrow. but this helps to move forward.
And if you're starting out right now, I will recommend not to compare yourself to Aesthetica Studio because the images are so good and so realistic. And I've just been watching some of them right now, and I've been looking at them, and was thinking that some of like how I'm not a visualizer. I know how it works, more or less. I mean, technically, if I have to do an image myself, I won't be able to reach your level, of course, right away. I'll need some practice. But what distinguishes for me the best companies in comparison with the not so good companies is that you bring not on it's very realistic images, but the most powerful thing of the image is the mood that you can get from the image. It feels like it's a still image, but you can imagine the subjects moving or the life in the scene. So I'm curious. I'm curious more. What is the process for you internally when you get, for example, let's say I'm an architect and I say, "Hello, Aesthetica Studio. I want this image from this project for this project." I send you my 3D model. The 3D model is quite okay, and you start modeling the things that you need or adjusting the model for your software, and so on. And what is the process to get the mood in the image? Are the architects that are telling you we want nice weather, or we want, I don't know, dramatic lighting, because you have also interior images, so it's sometimes not about really the weather. So how do you do the mood of an image, and how do you first communicate this to the clients?
The best clients are the ones that don't put too many rules, because otherwise we feel like we have to do it, and this can lead to a nice image, but not like a super nice image. This doesn't mean that if we do our way, it's gonna be great, because we always make many mistakes and we fail a lot. But like having the freedom, at least in the beginning, it's a great starting point. Otherwise, we feel like pizza guy. Can you put a bit of ham, a bit of cheese, then a little bit of bacon? No, bacon, no. So no, bacon, don't put bacon.
And then they come with the idea of ananas, and then you're like, no.
Exactly. Then it comes the ananas. It's like, hey. No. So yes, the less ingredients in the beginning, at least the better. Then we struggle for 2-3 days to find different options for this image. Usually we always say we give you 3-4 options, but in the end we end up giving 10 options per image. So if there are 4 images, it is very likely that you will receive 40 drafts after 2-3 days. So, and these drafts are already with atmosphere, vegetation materials, and everything. So, because we prepare always different presets that helps us in focusing just in the atmosphere. So just put nice presets in the beginning, at least, that helps us to build up the situation, and then it's just lighting for 3 days until we get what we are looking for. We never get what we are looking for, but at least we move forward.
Can you tell me a little bit the timeline of the making an image since the moment you receive the assignment to the moment you have completed the image? So if I came to you today with a project, what is the timeline until I get my images complete? Let's say I know that can vary a lot through the amount of images.
No, usually it's the same. It's okay. 2 weeks, 2 images, 1 person.
2 weeks is for 2 images.
Yes, 1 week, 1 image, but 1 week, 1 image is a bit tight. We saw with our process, with so many sketching and drafting, it's a bit tight. It's possible, but it's tight. But 2 weeks, 2 images, which is basically the same, is more.
Yeah.
Nice.
In the what is the timeline in these 2 weeks? You do first the model. How long it takes to make the model prepared for ready to starting the drafts?
No, half a day, less than half a day.
Okay. So the whole process is bringing in all the materials and the atmosphere, and so the drafts you send are not white models. They are ready with all
No,
the.
no. They're not final images, but they're nice previews.
Okay, so nice
Not always nice, but.
And until you send these previews, it's 1 week more or less. Or
no, after 3 days we send the previews.
And then 3 days to finish after they have chosen. And what happens in 3 days? You render the big probably scale of the image, like high resolution.
Exactly.
And then is there a lot of work on Photoshop?
No. We render. We work 1 day to finalize the 3D, 1 day for Photoshop, and 1 day for comments.
Yeah.
6
okay.
days in total.
Yeah, and then the second image probably it's slightly easier because you have a little already this is what I've learned by working with other companies that do images, is that if you ask from the same project for images, most probably it's not going to be as expensive as asking for images from 4 different buildings, and it's not going to take as long as time, because if you have the same model with the same materials, you need just to place the cameras more or less.
Well, price-wise, like this might work for interior or renderings, but for the projects that we do, like 4 images are 4 different worlds. And if you think that we will do like 10 drafts for each image, there is no optimization at all. So it's like where there is no lower price.
Mm-hmm. And can you share, if it's not a secret or if it's not only for the clients, what is the price range that you go for an image at your company? If it's, I don't know, if you don't want to disclose it, it's totally fine too.
No, it's fine. It's 2,500 euro per image in general. And as I said, that we don't go low with prices because we really put all our efforts and energies and love and passion in every single image, because we have to really go into it and study and struggle and fail and go back for each single image. So it's really a lot of energy. So if it's 1, 2, or 3, it's just the same for 1, 2, and 3, the same process.
Yeah.
So.
And of course you have like costs of like your office, your licenses, your people working for you, everything that you're basically with the same functions of an architectural office, more or less.
But the hard thing for that is that architectural office have a lot of long periods without income, but then suddenly there is a large amount of money coming in. While in this job, it's super difficult because it's just one, at least for competition, it's just 2 images, then another 1 image, then 3 images, and then you have to build up little by little, months by months with. It's difficult. That's the tricky part.
Yeah, but
there is one thing that I would like to share if somebody wants to start an architectural rendering company. It's that it's super complex and diverse, the market at the moment. So it's like it came to my mind now we are talking about this. It's it might seem the same job, but in the end it's so many different jobs inside the same profession. So there is competition, there are architectural rendering, archviz firm that only work on real estate, or private houses, or just interiors, or product interiors, or furniture. It's so wide, and it's important to get like specific, and if you want to, it's better always to specialize in something. We never do real estate, for example. I don't know how to do a nice living room. I never had a bedroom in my scene, for example. And so, because it's really, there are many sectors that are and you have to maybe know who you are and what you want to do, and then go all in this. Then of course it's nice to find well, there are different ways of doing this job. Depends on it's very important that you know who you are, I think.
Yes, and I mean you can see that through your images that you're specialized on working for architects, because among your clients there are of course your other friends from 3XN, but there are a lot of other Danish companies like big Nord Architects. I don't know, there are Schaumann and Norgren. Shout out to Schaumann and Norgren, who were also on the podcast. Did you have do you have Effect Architects? They were also on our podcast. Or
I saw that. Yes.
So I don't know.
No, I don't have on the website.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So it's.
No, we never work with Effect. I know them very well, but I never work with them.
Yeah, maybe in the future. Maybe it's an occasion to you can write Sinus. He's the founder, and say, hey, I was also on the Creative Insider, and then you can connect, and maybe in a couple of months they'll come back.
This is the little connection we were talking about before.
Yes, yes, but this is the right way to connect with people, because my main task to do this podcast is to connect to people. So I was actually learning and reading about how to connect with people, and it's very important to know how to approach a person, because then the chances they reject you if you go cold mail or cold message, as a lot of companies from China, for example, do, not gonna work out, because that's not how it works, at least in the European culture. But we were talking a little bit what is some points of, for example, if somebody wanted to start their own archviz company. But from what I kind of understood, that you have also something to say if somebody wants to join an archviz company, in particular your company. So are you always on the search for new team members?
Yeah, for sure. This is the one thing that book was saying, is that you have to enjoy the process of finding people. It doesn't have to be like, oh damn, I have to open the position and write the description. I'm always like with a radar turned on, checking other people's work. Who's this guy? Or this girl? Where does she work? Where does she work now? Like following the good people moving around, and why and how. So it's a constant process. When you see somebody that is good, I mean, it's worth contacting always, or at least get in touch. So yes, I'm always looking at. I think I will. We will post like a job offers very, very soon. So
what are the skills required, apart of course being a nice person, for joining a nice team?
This is a great, very, very important skill to have. We have to be together for 8 hours a day at least, so sometimes less, but so it has to be like a super good team player, willing to help other people, and of course to learn. And I don't believe that like super strong technical skills are necessary. It's just the idea and the will to tell something, and find like a creative way to tell it, because maybe you don't have the tools, but there is something, even if it's not a render, it's a picture, it's a photography, it's a drawing. Once, when was it? 2 years ago, I saw like one guy in Italy, from Calabria, from the south of Italy, that I checked his Instagram profile. No, it was a friend of mine showing his Instagram profile. He was an architect, and he's studying architecture. He was super young, and I saw his Instagram profile. He was really, 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 really good in hand drawings. Like, these people that can draw super realistic portraits. but it was not only copying the picture, it was always, there was something in these drawings. He didn't know anything about 3D, anything about, never opened a 3D software. So I contacted him. I offered him like, I was super young, he was still studying. I offered him like a paid internship. He came to Barcelona, and in 1 month, he learned the 3D Max, Corona, Photoshop. It was fantastic. It was really, really a great team player, and he learned super fast, and he had the eye. So, and then he decided to move back to the architecture world. God knows why, but yeah, this just to say that it's not the technical. It's not only the technical. Actually, the technical is nothing. Technically, you can learn in 1 month.
I have some colleagues in my office that were working in the archviz world, and they switched to architecture. And I always ask why you wanted to switch to architecture, because it's a very hard. It's because you guys have like this actual creative side of the job, and when you're an architect, as I am, and I'm in the executive side of the job, which means I get the plans and we prepare everything from documentation to construction permit to site drawings, construction drawings, and it's a lot of bureaucracy, a lot of calls, a lot of meetings. But the beauty of the job is that you actually see the project happening, getting built. And when you see the project completed, and when everybody go on this construction site when it's completed by the opening, and you see all these people you have worked with, it's like you have been through, like through war.
A journey.
Through a war, not a journey, because you have had so many difficulties and so many difficult moments, but in the end you go there and you see that it's there, that it's physical, that once something was on the paper, now it's built, and it's this cool rush of enjoyment, but it comes every, I don't know, depends on the project, 2-3 years, because and it's more dynamic, and the people tell me that's the reason why they switch, because they the grass of the neighbor is always greener, right? So
always
some people that are in archviz say, I want to see my project built, and people in the architecture said, I don't want to do this anymore.
To see different projects. So it's always.
So it's always what you don't have. But basically, people that are a different level of skills in archviz, if they're passionate, if they're like have some basic, maybe some prepare some portfolio, they can try to apply for aesthetic.
The important thing is to have that something.
And not architectural projects, but images only.
Just please. I mean, I don't. This it's just to show that you really care about, and you know what you're doing, and you know where you're going.
If you give me the contact to which people can apply, I will put it on the description of the podcast, so that they can just so guys, if you're listening, you can just scroll down and you'll find all the information about Aesthetica and how to get in touch, and maybe find your new job place.
Barcelona is quite a nice city.
Yeah, especially if you're from north of Europe, it's nicer because there it's warmer. And
but the people is more skeptical to move to Barcelona to work, because Barcelona in Spain work a lot, the salaries are bad, which is not true. So that's a bit of the difficult part of bringing non-Spanish and non-Italian people in Barcelona from the north. That's quite a challenge.
I know a lot of people here in Germany that are actually more in the IT sector, moved to Spain because they would get the same money just for nicer weather. So they go to Spain.
Yeah,
So
exactly. But maybe with architecture, and so architectural visualization is still related to this Spain, work a lot of working hours, bad salaries. It's not the case. So hopefully we'll get some friends from Europe in general. Also because now there are too many Italians.
So let's get you international, and I think that whoever listened to this conversation can really understand where you're coming from and how the company was built and the culture. So I think that if there is any mistrust, whoever listens to now a quite long conversation can completely understand you and see your background and transparency of the company. I love the conversation. We could be talking for hours, but I want to let you go. I always like to try to finish the conversation by asking my guests for some inspiration. So I'm wondering if you can think about something. Doesn't have to be everything of the list, but when you feel uninspired, do you have some favorite book, or when you felt uninspired, some favorite book, some favorite movie, some favorite song, an event, place, podcast, something that you like to consume when you're a little bit, I don't know, maybe you need some inspiration or something that have helped you in the past. As I said, you can pick only one or whatever pops up in your mind. Or sports. Some people say sports.
Oh, okay. Well, I think music it's definitely my thing, but I wouldn't go. I wouldn't. I'm a hip hop person, so but I don't have a favorite artist. What I really noticed while working is that there are the music changes with the work. Like we stay in front of the computer a lot of time, so we need to live with music and have a, and it is a super important part, not only work but in life in general. And I think what I notice in my daily work routine is that I listen some when I have to start a project. I need to listen to some new music, some music that I never heard before, because it's a new project. This is something I really realized recently, and I really need to find new points of view, new camera, new inspiration, new references. Something is new, so I need new music. I cannot listen to the same old music. Well, in the end of the process, when the project is done, when the deadline gets tighter and tighter and tighter, can you say tighter?
Yes.
Yeah, more tight. Okay, and maybe I'm more stressed, and everybody's more stressed. There I need the music that I know, the music that I really feel comfortable with, and that tell me like, okay, you know this place, you have been there here many times, even if, and maybe you don't, maybe you forget about it, but then music helps to bring back to the safe place and to finish the project. Then, of course, if you listen always to the same song, it's always the same image. No, that's not true. That's not true. But well, yes.
Then it was awesome talking to you. I hope you'll get some emails through this podcast for new colleagues.
Yes.
And I cannot thank you enough for participating. And I always say this is the first time, but whenever there are some news around Aesthetica or any news you want to share with the community, you're always welcome back to the podcast. So Andrea, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for this fantastic opportunity, and I hope to be in touch soon for a second round.
Yeah, for sure. And for everybody listening, just scroll down and check the links that will connect you with Aesthetica Studio and Andrea. So thank you very much, and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.